That does beg the question. I mean, obviously everybody, the team, very excited after the win. What are plane rides like after a win like that?
You know, normally it's pretty
Raucous,
loud and raucous,
whatever,
and the guys are having a good time. Honestly, I think it was the whole physically and mentally draining thing.
They were just glad it was over with.
There wasn't hardly a word. Everybody
Really?
was kind of knocked out. You could hear some kind of laughing.
That's a short flight too. What,
it was
hour and a half?
Yeah,
hour?
No, I mean maybe 35 minutes
Oh,
on
really?
the way back. Yeah, it was real quick.
What, you guys like a G5 or something?
The plane was flying. I looked at the guy sitting next to me. I'm like, we're moving right now. This plane is moving. And it started to get bumpy. I was like, whoa. You know, I put my headphones in, but it was rather calm. You could kind of. It wasn't like they were. I think they're kind of a team that kind of expects to win.
Sure.
So, but I think everybody was just kind of happy it came.
Yeah, and for good reason too. For good reason. Let's take a look ahead at what is next for the Colts. A little longer turnaround than we had last Monday, and that turnaround from Monday to Sunday, and the trip on the road. This time, they are hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars, 1 o'clock kick at Lucas Oil Stadium. Yesterday, they were on the road in New England, and you see the final score, kind of what you might think about Jags-Patriots game looking like. Blake Bortles, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Allen Robinson, the big stud wide receiver for the Jags, 4 catches, 68 yards. T.J. Yeldon, running back, 11 carries, 33 yards. And linebacker Paul, help me out on this last name. Puzzlusny.
Penn State guy.
Penn State guy. Team high 18 at tackles. I always mess that one, Puzzlusny. LeGarrette Blount, by the way, for the Patriots, 3 touchdowns. As the Jags 6 of 12 on 3rd down. Had 7 penalties for 117 yards.
That's a lot.
In many ways, the Jags are still the Jags.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say?
I would agree with that. I think they're a better team than they were last year. I think T.J. Yeldon at running back gives them another option to go to. Gerhardt at running back last year was not getting it done. Blake Bortles in his 2nd year, I think.
And Toby's still with the team, by the way, and still has a couple of
he'll get
but
a couple.
not like T.J.
But T.J. Yeldon is the guy. Allen Robinson is a big stud wide receiver. I mean, he had a monster game the week before, and I think it was against Miami. He had like 120, 40 yards in the first half and a couple touchdowns. So obviously they have some weapons, but I think it's one of those games you should win, kind of like the New England Patriots won it. You should go out there because you look at the numbers for the guys for the Jaguars, not bad numbers. Bortles, 242 yards, 2 TDs and a pick, nothing terrible there. Robinson had a good game. Yeldon, that's not a very good average, but you can tell they were having to throw the ball more than run the ball with obviously only 11 carries. So if it's something I do think we should be able to, if we get them here, if we jump on them early and we're playing even a resemblance of that 4th quarter against the Titans, we should beat them. Maybe not as bad as the Patriots beat them, but along those lines.
I want to see what Bortles is like now in year 2. Remember last year he made his debut
against us,
against the
down
Colts,
there,
down on the road,
and he gave him a little spark. You know what I mean?
Doubt.
He gave him a little flash, and they started to end up moving the ball. But that game was so out of reach. Andrew had a huge game. It could have been really bad if a couple guys caught some balls. I remember Kobe Fleener dropped a touchdown in that game, but it was still out of reach early. But I expect Andrew to have a big game. I'm hoping we can protect him, we can block it up, and give him some time because I think the big plays down the field are coming this week.
Do you think the O-line will change again? I guess it depends on perhaps the health of Lance Lewis.
I think it'll depend on that. But I don't think I don't know if it'll change in terms of where Muhort is in the tackle situation. I think it might just change with.
Don't you think Wright's held his own out there at right tackle?
I thought Wright did a good job.
I thought he did the same thing last year too when he was out there.
I thought he did a good job, and that's a decent defensive line. You got Jarrell Casey, you got Derek Morgan. I mean, those guys get after the quarterback, and their athleticism, the way they play, are going to cause you penalties. But Horton and Dick LeBeau, the defensive minds they had down there in Tennessee, I mean, they can dial it up now. They were moving around. They were bringing people. We've faced 3 really good defenses in terms of blitzing and defensive mind. So it'll be nice to, I'm not going to say get a week off because they have a defensive-minded head coach down there. So.
And Gus Bradley, the former DC, and he's a guy that'll bring it too.
So it'd be nice to just kind of have a good week of blocking it up and maybe go a little bit more no huddle throughout the entirety of this game against the Jaguars than just the 4th quarter against the Tennessee Titans and keep them vanilla, keep the looks something you can pick up, identify, and dominate.
All right, so we apologize. We're having some technical difficulties bringing in Brad Brown, Skyping in from parts unknown. We never know where Brad is.
Yeah, he's all
so
over.
he might be out in some place where you don't have cell signals. Who knows? And also Sam Kavaris, from the sportscaster from News 4 down in Jacksonville, where he was expected to join us as well. That has not happened. Some technical difficulty. We apologize for that. We do, though, have a live line to PJ and PJ's mom's basement.
Yes,
Any final thoughts, PJ?
Well, you just touched on what was being floated around the Twitterverse pretty much throughout the entirety of last night. A lot of worry about Andrew early on in the game. First 3 quarters. Oh, this is the last 2 weeks all over again. But all the observations have been from fans, from particularly pulled out a tweet here from Eric Barnes, eBarnes442. He looked bad right up until they went to that no huddle, right up until they started spreading the offense and hurry up. So to your point, Jim, one can only hope that they kind of expand that out for the entirety of the game.
Yeah, and I don't think they have to do it constantly, but I'd start the game like that and then maybe change it up when things are going well. Hey, we got a couple score lead. Let's get into our normal offense. Let's huddle. Let's try to get a drive going like this where we're running the football as much as we're throwing, balance, take some time off the clock and things like that. But it's amazing. And that's the reason why Peyton Manning, the Colts ran a no huddle for so long, and a lot of teams around the league do it, is because it stops defenses from substituting and getting in those crazy looks. And it gets them winded, and if you're not having them walk all over the place, it's easier to identify. They can't get the calls in from the sideline, and it makes life easier on the offense.
It's funny. I remember the first couple of seasons, and you were there too, when Peyton was running the no huddle.
Oh, yeah.
It was like revolutionary.
It was crazy.
And then everybody tried to do the same thing. Now everyone's pretty much caught up and is accurately doing the same sort of thing.